Thank you once again, John. And of course, those lovely dancers, weren't they marvellous? Well, here, I'm loving this. It's great. There's a smashing atmosphere in here. Of course, 1984 promises so much, doesn't it? Prosperity, hopefully peace. And well, we'll wait and see, shall we? Because let's face it, 1983's out the window, isn't it? Eh? What a year that was. It was all right for some people. What about Liz Taylor? She got married for the 8th time. She doesn't like men, but she loves wedding cake. Oh, eh? What about her? I was at the wedding. Oh, they do everything big in Hollywood, you know. Super wedding it was. What a size of a cake. See the two in taupe? You know how there's a wee bride and groom in taupe? It was Ronnie Corbett and Lulu. I'm not kidding. What a wedding. They didn't throw confetti, they threw vitamin pills. What? Mrs, I'm not kidding. You got a nice leg, Mrs. Just a pity about the other one. But listen, no. Because that's the type of place that is in Glasgow. We welcome everybody. Everybody's welcome here. It's the only place in the world you can rob a bank and get mugged in the way to getaway car. So it's nice. It's a friendly city, the warmest people in the world. 10 minutes and set fire to your jacket. Send you home with a blazer. Oh, no, I'm not coming off. Anyway, no, Glasgow's that type of place. I live in one of the posher parts of Glasgow, you know. Chateau du Lait. Castle Malt, you probably heard of it. Oh, tough up there. Jim Watt's the Avon man. Oh. The wee boy next door to me stabbed his mother and father to death just to get to the orphan's bus run. I'm not kidding. This guy came in drunk one night and she threw him on the couch. She said, look at you, you're a drunken bum, and he's lying there. And just at that, there was a knock at the door. It was a Masonic house. She opened the door, and there was two tall Americans standing. Good evening, we're the Mormons. I'm Elder Smith, this is Elder Jones. She said, come in and meet your pal, Elder Ado. Well, what? Oh, Glasgow. But we've got everybody in Glasgow, you know. We've got all nationalities. We've got an Asian community here, and the race relations here, they're better than nowhere. Because they go to our schools, you know. My wee boy sits next to a Pakistani boy. The teacher says, Cameron, where is Pakistan? He says, it can't be far, Muhammad gets home for his dinner. They're nice people. They're nice people. They built a mosque in Glasgow. A mosque, £6 million it costs. And they had to knock it down because it wasn't facing Mecca. It's facing Ladbrokes. It was. We've got Chinese here. Have you seen it? I mean, where is they get Chinese? Everywhere in Britain they've got a Chinese takeaway, haven't they? Have you ever noticed that when you get into a Chinese takeaway? They've always got a sore finger. Have you noticed that? You walk in, you go like that, a bag of chips to go, sore finger. Sorry, sore finger. And then when they give you it, they swear at you. They hand it over and they go, anything else? They do, eh? They do, eh? Anything else? No, I'm not coming though. I was in one last week. I forgot to get cigarettes. Chinese takeaway. I walked in. I said, how are you? I said, how you know my name? I said, give me 20 number 6. I got 100 weight of rice. Oh, 1983 is a super year, wasn't it? British Telecom. See what they did? Take it as a Busby. Wee Busby, a nice, wee, friendly bird that wouldn't hurt anybody, eh? And they get rid of it. They said, we want something that's more in keeping with our image. She's got a vulture. Seen the phone bills? Oh, marvellous. What a year was 1983. Scotland didn't do that well. They've got a new jersey, navy blue with a red neck. And England supporters, they did well, didn't they? They became British. Aye, they did. Oh, we've got a West Ham supporter, and, you know, with a big crowd frightens them. But anyway, West Ham, I went to see them and I got lost. I said to Apollos, how do I get to Upton Park? He said, just follow the crowds. I finished up in Woolworths. I'm not kidding. Oh, it was a super year, 83. I loved it. We had everybody here, you know. We had everybody. We had the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, and his lovely wife, Princess Diana, came to the Royal Variety performance in the King's Theatre on the 2nd of October. I remember it, I'll never forget it. I was in the show, and afterwards they came backstage and Prince Charles spoke to me. He said, "You road, I want to see Kerry McKellar." He's a nice man, a nice man. I remember his wedding, the 29th of July, 1981. Supposed to be the 12th of July, but they couldn't get a band. But anyway, that's a wee one for people in Ireland, you know. I like to be daft Irish ones. Paddy goes into the butcher's and he said, "I'd like a chop, please." And the guy says, "Jig it." He said, "I'd like a chop, please." No, we daft ones, okay. Talking about Glasgow, do you know what makes Glasgow such a great city? The education that you get. Kids, I've got a teacher, well, I've got a friend who's a teacher. I used to have a teacher who was a friend, but now I've got a friend who was a teacher. She was telling me about this class that she's got, and she asked them to tell them a story with a moral in it. And the wee class swat, you know what, like that. "Please, miss, please, miss." She said, "Right, Jeannie, what's your story?" She said, "My mummy was coming out of the supermarket the other day, they have bumped into another lady, and she dropped her basket and all her eggs broke." She says, "What's the moral to that?" She says, "Well, never put all your eggs in one basket." Oh, she says, "Well done, Jeannie." And the wee hard man sitting there with a broken nose, "Hey, miss, I've got one, I've got..." She says, "Shut up. Anybody else?" "No, I've got one. Wait a minute, missus, wait a minute." She says, "Okay, okay, Tommy." He says, "See, my grandad, he was in the trenches during the war, and he only had a rifle and a bottle of whiskey, and 50 yards away there was 12 Germans. My grandad just drunk the bottle of whiskey and got up and charged the 12 Germans. And do you know what he did? He stabbed the first 6 and shot the other 6. Do you know what I mean?" She said, "What's the moral to that story?" He says, "Don't mess about with my grandad when he's got a drink now." Oh, dearie me. Here, we've not had a lady in the show yet to do a party piece, but we're going to remedy that right away. Singing "Bridge Over Troubled Water" in Gaelic, would you welcome, please, Mary Sandeman?
Så traum snutjar rui Chereme kimi kolua An kunje pachogosh Amiditu Amiditu
Wow. Well, if that don't bring chills to your spine, nothing will, right? Damn, that's a hell of a performance to follow up with, right? Well, Happy New Year's, Happy Hogmanay, and happy whatever your particular continent might celebrate on New Year's 2017. Open Pagan Church, first show of 2017. Hope everybody is recovering well. Of course, I quit drinking alcohol in 1982, so strongest thing I'll be drinking nowadays is Dr. Pepper and coffee. Well, to get on with it, we're going to be covering altars today, and I'm going to kind of be flipping back and forth to from one monitor to the other. I've got quite a few pages pulled up with different types of altars that I kind of want to be talking about. I don't expect, hey, good morning, Clint. I don't expect a whole lot of people to be out here this early on New Year's morning, but they can definitely come back later and watch the program. That's why we do the online church. So our topic is altars. You know, what is an altar? A place of focus. What is an altar for? Yeah, well, you may think I'm crazy, but it's a place to put your candles. It's a simple flat surface somewhere in your home, your bedroom, your craft room, a garage, a tree stump on the side of the road, someplace where you can put your candle where it someplace to put your candle where it won't start a fire, hopefully. So just a few pictures of some altars here over on monitor 2. Hope everybody can see them okay. I'll be clicking on a few of these. Kind of what I'm looking for and what I'm wanting to show folk is just basic universal pagan altars. I mean, this one looks like it's got a representation of either an athame or a ritual blade of the green man, of course, our symbol, and candles. And here's another one that's really nice. I really like this one. Very beautiful. It's got the stag. Looks like the green man over here. Some crystals, athames, other blades. The chalice, of course. Now, with this being said, do we have to have an altar? Do we have to have an altar? No, not at all. Of course not. Good morning, Danae. Good morning, Camille. Looks like we lost Clint. In short, in simple, no. We don't have to have an altar. No, well, there's a boatload of traditions out there. Several of the Wiccan variances, Druid and what have you, that certain traditions require altars. It teaches you focus. It teaches you to be able to focus that energy into a candle or a magical tool, if you will. But no, we don't have to have altars. But there are some beautiful ones out there. Are pagans the only ones with altars? No, of course we're not. I mean, you know, every religion on the planet has altars. And some of them are oh my God. I mean, look at uh, look at this one here. If I can get the damn thing to pull up. This is gorgeous. Wow, why don't we open a few pages? That is a gorgeous altar in a cathedral somewhere. And of course, you know, a lot of the Buddhist altars are really beautiful. So, excuse me. No, we do not have to have altars. Altars are not something that are required. Altars are not anything that you have to be able to perform your particular magic. A lot of people, this is a beautiful altar here, just laid out in a field with stones and what have you. So, no, you do not have to have an altar. I can tell you that we have in our home probably three altars, I think, and depending on what we're doing, depends on which altar we use. Now, the main house altar, which is in the hallway, the family altar, as we call it, is on a family heirloom buffet. And, you know, it's, we haven't really been able to use it in a while because the cats have kind of taken it over. They love the energy. They love to play across it. So we keep everything shoved back to the back. Our fun-loving, beautiful cats are not afraid of fire. The little female likes to crawl into the oven with it on. The little male likes to stick his nose into burning candles and get his whiskers singed off. And then, of course, the big male, Tom, he just thinks it's all a toy. Yeah, up to and including a lighted candle he thinks is a toy. So, altars are nice to have, but altars are not required. And it's like Debbie said, some folks need them, some folks don't. Absolutely. And, you know, when it all comes right down to it, an altar is nothing in the world but a focal point. It is that focal point which allows us to be able to set a candle, light it, focus that energy into it. So an altar can, like I say, be any place from a little small area, just big enough to put a single candle to focus that energy on when you light that candle. Any candle in your house, fireplace, fireplace, harp, whatever. I've even been known when I lived in places with fireplaces to take a tea light out of the tin, pull the wick out of it, and take the wax and hold the wax in my hand until it melts, putting the intent of that request of the deity into that wax and then toss it into the fireplace with it lit. To me, it's very strong magic, very good energy. And, you know, all of my students that I ever taught during at least their first year senior studentry, up until the point where they become a priest, they were required to have an altar. Now the reason for this was, like I say, is it taught focus. It gave them a place to be able to set their candles up, to learn how to create a sacred space, to learn how to create that sacred energy within that sacred space, which candles to light, which candles mean what within our tradition, the Grove of the Celtic Shaman. Okay. For us, a standard standalone cast is one candle. A standard basic cast is 3 candles. Great Spirit, God, and Goddess. Well, then we have the elemental cast, which are 5 candles. Spirit, Earth, Air, Fire, and Water. And then, of course, we have the cardinal cast, which are 4 candles, which is north, east, south, and west, of course. And then, of course, in the Grove of the Celtic Shaman, we have the high cast, which are, ready for this, 13 candles. It has nothing to do with the Witches' Council of 13, but it is 13 candles. And I'm not even going to go into all of that. I'll probably cover some of that in tonight's Live with the Shaman in our Happy Effing New Year's series. Of course, that is an adult channel. Don't recommend kids are there. But, so, what does an altar mean to you? What is it for you? How does it work for you? Do you even use an altar? If I go back up to the top of the altar pages, you'll notice where every one of the Sabbaths have different altars that you can find through Google. Samhain is one of my most favorite Sabbaths of the year. This is kind of a cool altar here. It's got the representation of the God and Goddess. Got all of the candles. So as you can see, Google can be a really good tool for those of you that are practicing solitaire, that don't have a teacher, those of you that don't want a teacher, those of you that may think to hell with a teacher. This is what Google calls some of the traditional altars. It's rather interesting. It breaks it down for you and tells you which candle is what each of the symbols are, and how they work. So in case you haven't figured it out yet, the only wrong way to set up an altar, well, simplistically answered, that depends on your tradition. If your tradition is Wicca, then you're going to have a wrong way to set up an altar. If your tradition is shaman, you're going to have a wrong way to set up an altar. I can tell you as shaman, we don't use colored candles. Absolutely. We use either white or clear. We prefer clear. Now, in retrospect, there are some shamans out there that follow different traditionary philosophies that do use the different colored candles. In the GCS, we don't. I know that the Fae have different color candles, different meanings that work with different colors of magic within their altar. And Wicca, oh boy, most all of your Wiccan traditions that I've researched through the years, they definitely have right and wrong ways to set up an altar. So when you're Googling pagan altars, look across the top, and I mean, you know, here's one that's kind of cool. They've got a differentiation for a bedroom altar. Here's a chap here setting up an essential bookcase. Says Pagan in South Texas is setting up an altar there. It's really kind of nice. I love that. Love the architecture of that antique Beautiful, beautiful piece of furniture. And you'll notice a lot of people will use antiques. Here's one here that's really nice. That's a beautiful old, that's a beautiful old case. Obviously painted. That's an Egyptian style altar. I like to go through periodically and look at the different styles of altars that people set up. Some of them are beautiful. Some of them are just downright beautiful. And I would imagine that a lot of people will start out watching this video thinking I'm going to tell you how to set up an altar. Well, no, I'm not. It's not my place to tell you how to set up an altar. It's not even my place to tell you you have to have an altar. I mean, really. Like we say, altars are not required. Morning, Cynthia. Cynthia's got a 3-level altar. For the longest time, I had a 3-level altar. I love 3-level altars. As far as the Celtic Shaman, the GCS goes, each level represents a different plane. Each level represents a different mode of meditation, step up into the next plane, if you will. So, no. Altars are definitely not required to be able to do prayer, magic, cast, meditation, whatever. They do help. Humans need focal. We need a focal point. I know that a lot of times driving back and forth to work, that can be my focal point for some really good interactive meditation, if you will. Ever since I've started practicing, I've had an altar of some kind, even if it's nothing in the world but a 6-inch by 6-inch square space, just to put a couple of candles. But again, altars were actually first developed as a as a place to put your candles. I mean, imagine back in the days of the ancestors, when they were looking to set up altars either in their thatch huts, in their caves, in whatever they chose as their domicile, their home, their place to live. Many of the things that they had, thatch chairs, wooden chairs, hay, oh my God, straw, highly flammable, almost completely combustible. So they had to have a place to set the candles. And the amazing, simplicity of it is altars were never first designed or developed as anything extremely mythical. They were, the ancestors, they were very tool oriented. They were very tool and safety minded. They knew that if you set some kind of candle or some kind of flame on the floor or outside, or on anything other than something that really actually wasn't very flammable, you'd end up with a fire real quick. Many of the ancestors did not have altars in their homes. Many villages did not have altars in their homes. And when the Christian Requisition came along, and most Christian societies started forcing the ban, if you will, of any kind of pagan philosophy or any kind of pagan ideology, altars became a very a good way to hide your tradition, if you will. And case in point, I'm going to Google hidden pagan altars. This is where you came out with some really good boxes that a lot of them really had no symbology on the top. A lot of the hidden altars were a simple box that might have looked like just a simple bookshelf or a foot chest or keepsake box of some kind. And you know, many pagan altars of the ancestors were hidden right in front of your face. A lot of them, you'll notice here, this is a piece of tapestry, and many of the ancient altars were built out of tapestry so that if someone walked up, you could quickly blow out your candles and fold your tapestry up and just sit like you were enjoying the outdoors. Here's a little portable altar box here. I know for the longest time I had one of those when I was doing a lot of the Ren Fair, and my altar is still very portable for when I do hand fastings and such as that. A lot of altars, like I say, a lot of altars were right in front of your face. You know, like this one here. Somebody built a little shadow box into the wall. So, getting ideas of altars, getting ideas of things that you can do with altars. A lot of people, especially nowadays, even nowadays, a lot of the younger newcomers to the pagan philosophy, they live in homes or in areas where they're not allowed to have an altar. The parent says, "Oh, you're going to go to hell. Taboo. You can't have an altar. Not going to happen. No, 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 no. No altar in my house." Blah. Piss on that. So, if you have to have a hidden altar, more power to you. But I do want to make a recommendation. Don't do like some people I've seen. Put an altar into like an old entertainment center, or an old antique, something like that, and you start a cast. And I know most all of us, once we light a candle and we start a cast, we really don't want to blow out the candle until it goes out, unless you've got a big tall candle with an ongoing on-burning cast where you light it periodically. Most of us use little tea lights, so they only burn about 10 hours. But case in point, if you have a hidden altar or an altar that you want to keep clean and you've got it in a curio cabinet or some type of family heirloom where the doors will close, guys, don't close the doors on a burning candle, really. I mean, some of you may think that's common sense, but I've seen a lot of kids through the years coming in as seekers and what have you. They'll use a sock drawer, or they'll use a drawer in their bedroom that they can pull out and light their candles. And for some weird, ungodly reason, they will light the candles, do the prayers to their gods and goddesses, and then they will close the drawer with lighted candles in them. Definitely not a smart idea. Yeah. So, once again, altars, they're a focal point. They're some place where we can put our candles without burning the house down, theoretically, where we can leave our altar tools displayed out where we can see them on a daily basis, and it gives us a little bit of ability to display our tools, right? To be able to display those tools in such a way that everybody can see them. I know that our family altar in the main walkway, as you come in the front door down the hall, it's probably going to be cleaned up tomorrow, because I like for people to be able to see our crystals and our stones, our candle layouts, and what have you, for the altar. Now, you know, in all reality, we could probably cut right here and completely have talked about everything that has anything to do with altars. Because anything outside of this point, anything past this point, is path specific. Cynthia's got a good point. First of the new year, cleaning of the altar. And that is something I wanted to bring up. This is a personal thing. So don't assume this has to do with all pagans or all shamans. But this is a Don thing, right? I've never understood why they thought or they think that January 1st has to be the beginning of the new year, or why January 1st falls as far after Yule as it does. Because the true mother beginning of the new year, the true mother's re-beginning, new birth, new coming, is December 21st stroke December 22nd. That's when the sun starts anew. It's the new birth of the sun. So I have always found it rather interesting as to why they decided January the 1st needed to be over 5 days, actually 7 days, after the true re-beginning. And I know that the Romans laid out that calendar, and I know that philosophically, somehow, scientifically, it makes sense. But just me personally, and I know that sorry, I just received an IM with some really good news in it. Or, well, good news, but not good news, depending on how you look at it. So, I've always thought that New Year should be December 21st stroke December 22nd. And I want to give a shout out. Real quick here. I'm not really going to mention his name, but if he watches the video later, and anybody that has been reading the HOP page knows that one of our members' daughters came up missing. She has been found. She is in San Diego in the hospital. They just called him to let him know. So, hope she's okay. Candles lit to the family for sure. He's really good old friend of mine. He's a big part of the reason I made it through school. Hell of a code writer, hell of a database writer. We helped each other get our degrees in computer engineering, network engineering, and what have you. I did all of his network engineering stuff for him, and he did all of my programming and database for me. So, it worked out. I couldn't program my way out of a wet paper bag. So, that being said, yeah, stuff like that is always good news, especially on a holiday there. So, well, we're 30 minutes we're 30 minutes past the hour, and as you know, at 50 minutes past the hour, I'll be rolling over to UnitedPaganRadio.net to do my radio show over there. So, kind of keep that in mind. Let's see. Pardon me, allergies. Oh, man, allergies never take a day off, do they? They definitely don't. All right. Well, let's take a few minutes, right? Take a bit of a break, get up, stretch your legs, do whatever. I'm going to pull up some music here, or at least I think I am. Let's see. Let's see. Damn commercials. I hate commercials. Hate commercials. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to put on a little Hogmanay fiddle music, and we're going to take a like a 5-minute break, and then come back and we'll continue with altars. So if I can get my stupid software pulled up, and here we go. come back from our break here. Tell you what I've decided I'm going to do for the next uh, Open Pagan Church, and it's going to require a little work on my part, but that's all right. Don't mind a little work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to compile a playlist of 30 minutes of different altar calls of different paths from different crafts. Ought to be interesting. Spirit Guide has a wonderful way of slamming me with these things either in the middle of the night while I'm asleep or while I'm talking about something else entirely different. So yeah, next week's church will be on different types of calling an altar. Not necessarily calling a circle, but calling or casting up an altar. So if any of you watching the videos, if any of you watching this presentation either now or later, if you want to video record a calling of an altar or calling up an altar, keep it down to a minute or 2 minutes if you can. Don't make one of these big off the wall 30-minute altar cast because I won't be able to show it. And in all reality, the average altar call lasts about between 30, 60, and 90 seconds anyway. So keeping that in mind. I will probably not do an altar call because I want to see how everybody else does it. But if you want to have someone video an altar setup and an altar call, that don't mind sharing them in a playlist for Open Pagan Church next weekend, you've got about 5 days to get them to me, because Thursday or Friday or Saturday I'm gonna sit down and put together a playlist of altar calls. So keep in mind that your video will be posted on YouTube. It will probably be posted on my YouTube so that I can add it to the playlist. It'll be 30 minutes, multiple different altar calls, be about a 30-minute playlist, and I might be narrating some of these altar calls. I may not. Depends on how they look. But I want newcomers, I want first years and seekers to get an idea of what happens during casting up an altar or an altar call. It's very, very important. I know when I was a seeker in a first year with really no teacher, I learned how to call an altar through meditation, through astral travel, and through listening to a lot of the older elders in the pagan philosophy talk about altar call, how to set up different altars. The first altar I ever set up was in mid to late 99, and I set it up and took it down and set it up and took it down until it felt right and looked right for me. So altars are very personal things. Some people, a lot of people, most people probably don't want their altar calls videotaped, much less shared. But if you're going to videotape an altar call for this presentation next weekend, make it simple. I don't know, request for blessings. I know that Cindy and Clint and several of my other students were taught how to do a training altar, how to cast an altar specifically for training. And we would set up an altar and we'd say, okay, this does that, and I'm going to do a quick training cast. And the first thing I did was put the energy out there to completely dome and encase the idea that I'm fixing to call a high altar. Or just do an altar for blessing for the rest of the year. I don't ever recommend that you cast an altar for money or wealth or anything of that nature, because there is a payment for every magic that's used. There is a payment for every magic that's used. So it'd be kind of cool, I think, if you guys want to do a 30 or a 90-second video on an altar cast. I think it'd be fun. Cindy's going to send it to the Rove page, R-O-V-E. Gotta love her. Hey, not that I ever make any typos, right? Never. Never make any typos. Not me. No. I am a typo. All right. 42 minutes past the hour. What, if anybody has any questions, people watching the pre-recorded Open Pagan Church on altars this week, if you've got any questions, by all means, place them in the window. One of us, myself, or one of the other people in the HOP will be more than happy to answer it for you. I don't recommend that you put your questions on the Open Pagan Church page, because it may take me a day or two to see them. Now, I do have like 4 admins on that page, and they're perfectly welcome if they see a question on there to answer it there, but copy and paste the question and answer over to the HOP. The Open Pagan Church page is mostly a place to store the videos and get people involved in Open Pagan Church, if you will. Yes, Cindy says always open. Always open. Well, what are some of your thoughts on altars? Again, I say, how do they work? How does an altar work? What does it do? How do you use it? What's it used for? Why do we even have altars? I know the answers for me, and the answers for me are as personal as they're going to be for you. Those are questions that time to clean house and get ready for tonight's circle. Woohoo! Absolutely. And those of you that are watching, you might see post from Open Pagan Church. Like I say, I've got 4 admins, and if one of the admins actually posts something on the chat, it'll look like it's coming from me or from the Open Pagan Church, which is fine. I trust these people with my life, which is why I have no problems with them being admin. Says altar is something I like to have in my room. Brings calmness to the room. Yeah. Mine is a focal point for energies to be used and given out to help others. Absolutely. Yes. Well, if you're an admin of the page, Cindy, Clint, Debbie, and Camille, um, if you're an admin of the page, then when you post something, it does come across as that. Also, if you're posting it on the Open Pagan Church page and you're not posting it in the HOP page, it'll also come across as Open Pagan Church. Well, yeah, I totally agree with Danae. Um, so we are 46 minutes past the hour, so I'm probably going to start winding it down and putting out there my weekly thought, if you will. Yes. Point for the cosmos, focus energies. Yep. So take this as you're going forward, as you're taking care of your daily business. An altar is as personal to you as your craft is. You can have a small altar at work, in your car, your bedroom, your home. You can have hidden altars. You can have altars that are open to whoever. You can have things that are important to you, that mean something to you. So when you're putting your altar together, don't put a whole lot of stuff on the altar that's not important to you. Don't try to put a whole lot of stuff on your altar just because you're trying to make a fashion statement. Put things on your altar that are important to you. Important stones, candles, tools, athame, kani, an herb cutting blade or something of that nature. Whatever is important to you. The size of the altar is not what's important. Just like how flamboyant you are in your craft is not what's important. What's important is what's in your heart. How you do it, what you do, how you do things, and how you facilitate those energies and what have you that you use with your altar. And with that, folks, we always appreciate you watching. We're always very glad that you watch Open Pagan Church. And we always hope to see you here every week, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time on Sundays, right here on Open Pagan Church and the House of Pagans. Have a great week. Enjoy your new year, if you will. Have a great day.